Hi friends, welcome to Vectorworks. I will give you a few quick tutorial things about setting up your workspace on your computer. In these labs, you have to do this on the computer that you're going to continue using. So I will recommend you pick a computer and stick with it because these settings will stick then to that user profile on that computer. They will not transfer to another computer. So if you pick a different computer in the lab, you'll have to load these settings again. Just an FYI. So pick a computer, stick with it. And I'm going to walk you through some things that I typically do when I start a new opened copy of Vectorworks for the first time in a new place. First thing I do is I go to Vectorworks Preferences over here. And there are some changes that I will make to the standard settings. These have already happened, but I'll go in and show you where they are. So session is a place that I change something, and that one checkbox where it says create a new document on startup, I uncheck that box. I don't need you to make me a new file every time I open the Vectorworks software. I'm usually going to either be working from a file I have already or using a document template. So that I tend to uncheck right away. I also update my autosave preferences. If you are paranoid, you can have it save more frequently. You can have it save by number of things you do instead of by number of minutes. It will automatically save that backup copy into a separate folder, which is my preference. I don't like to overwrite my original file. It will automatically confirm before save. And if you like pop-ups, you can have it do that. I am not into pop-ups, so I uncheck that box and I have it save like 2 backups, okay? The other thing I will typically turn off is this Smart Options display. When this is turned on, if you leave your mouse in one spot, it'll pop up little buttons for you around your mouse that you can then quickly get to things, supposedly. For me, it's just more visual clutter. So I usually turn it off and I use the toolbars on the sides to access tools, and I also use keyboard shortcuts to access tools. The other thing you can change in session, besides creating a new document, is the number of undos. So Vectorworks saves both, like it stores in memory, both like the repositionings on your screen and the actual actions that you do. If you find yourself crashing into your undo limit a lot, like if you're like undo, 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 and then it's like no more undo history, and it becomes a problem for you, here's where you add more undos. So that is right there. That's all I change automatically in Vectorworks Preferences, so I'll click OK, get out of that menu. The other thing you need to do is go to Tools, and your menu bars will look slightly different than mine because I want you to be in the Spotlight workspace. So workspaces are arrangements of tools that you're going to use for projects in certain categories of things. If you go to Tools, you can go all the way down to the Workspaces tab and choose which workspace you are in. It most likely will land you in like the Design Suite or the Fundamentals as your default. You want to choose Spotlight. Spotlight is the theater-specific tool sets, and that's what I will be teaching in. So Spotlight is your tool set. Lastly, in this tour of fun things, actually not quite lastly, we'll do one thing after this. You want to go to this weird little caret because right now you'll notice your screen has a piece of paper with a grid on it, and I am not into that life. It's not for me. So that is one of the functions I turn off. There are reasons for that. One of them is to differentiate between design layers, which are 3D model space, and sheet layers, which are for printing out. We will talk about them more in a moment. So for me, it's helpful to visually only have a page boundary, a page outline, on a sheet layer that I'm printing out and not in a design layer. That said, to turn that off, I come over here to the little twirly down arrow, which is hard to find or see, and I have to turn on some buttons in order to turn off some things. So I have to turn on this show grid button in order to then click the button and turn off the grid. And I have to turn on the show page boundary button and then click that to turn off the page boundary. Okay, so now those are system settings things that I like to change. The last thing I'm going to have you do is load a template. So on Canvas, you will have found a template file, a Pomona template file. And you'll need to download that and then open it in the software. So I'm going to go to Open. It's going to be in my downloads, Pomona template, open. All right, now it's open. The last thing I'm going to do, so this template file contains specific design layers already built in and also sheet layers already built in for printing things. The last thing I need to do is make this into a Vectorworks template instead of just a file called template. And the way that I do that is I go to File, I save as template. This is not save as, this is a separate line. Saves the current documents as templates. Beautiful. You can overwrite default, but I choose not to do that. I instead call this Pomona Template 2023 or something along those lines. Then I hit save. Mine already existed, so it's replacing it, and that's fine. It's the same. So now my template file exists, and when you make a new copy of it, it will just pop up as an untitled thing. Once I'm back out, you will get this whole pop-up, right? I can say I want a new file, I want to use a document template, and I can look down in that list and find that Pomona template that I just created, say okay, and now every time I start, that will be what pops up. It'll also be the default to to pull those settings up in your pop-up next time. So as you create new documents, they'll be in this template, which will be helpful to you. That's the setup portion. Let's talk about your basic tools portion, okay? So Vectorworks has standard 2D drawing tools. That's all we're really going to play with today. I can also link to you my sort of beginning 2D drawing tools practice projects, which are on YouTube, where you just draw some logos. That's my assignment that I give in my regular CAD class to practice that skill set. We're going to do some simple shapes and images that will be useful for creating a model, because this is a place where I can use Vectorworks as a shortcut to draft and scale. So I can be like, I want an 8-foot tall wall, and it will shrink it down to 2 inches because it's in 1/4 inch scale for me, or for my friend, the laser cutter. So that's what I'm going to give you the basic lay of the land in doing today. We will get into 3D later this semester. So you're going to start with the rectangle tool, which is keyboard shortcut 4, or you can click on it right here. And you want to click and drag, and that will start drawing. So it's one click and drag. There are different modes for this. I start in this mode all the time. I may use this mode occasionally, but this is my basic starting point mode. So this is where you want to begin. You'll see coordinates, change in X and change in Y, because the triangle means change because of math things. So that is giving you what your X and Y dimensions of the shape you are drawing are in full scale. Great. I want to do a wall that's 8 feet tall and 16 feet wide. So I'm going to hit Tab on my keyboard. That pops me into the change in X box. It's 16 feet wide, so 16 feet, and then I hit Tab again, and I make it 8 feet tall. 8 feet, Tab. After I have done this, I now have my red crosshairs, okay? And those are guides that have basically locked those 2 dimensions where they currently are. You'll also notice I was able to just like zoom in and pick up and drag around my document. That's mouse stuff, okay? So I zoom in with my scroll wheel on my mouse, and then I move my whole picture around by pushing down on my mouse button and dragging. So that temporarily engages the hand tool, which is this guy, which lets you move your drawing around, right? Because I just did that before I actually finished that rectangle. Rectangle is gone. I'm going to do that again. Tab. I just did 8 inches. You'll notice that is not what I wanted. 8 inches. All right, 16 feet, 8 feet. I have to click again. Now it's an object. Okay. I do want to keep it relatively in the center of my file. Oh, I'm just drawing more rectangles. This will be used soon. So in order to get my pointer tool back and not just draw more rectangles, I have to hit the X key on my keyboard. That brings me back to my selection tool. You'll notice also that these all have lovely little keyboard shortcut hovers, right, for you to switch to those tools. X key brings me there. Zoom in, click and drag with my mouse, If you are unfortunately on a laptop like a crazy person, you can get that temporary hand tool engage thing by holding down the space bar and then clicking and dragging with your trackpad. It's not my fave, but it's an option. So this is my wall. She's 8 feet tall, 16 feet wide. Great, fantastic, wonderful. Now I want to put a door in her for example reasons, right? I'm going to start down here in the bottom left and create this next rectangle. I know that doors are 3 feet wide and they are 6'8" tall. And I've just gone too far past the Y, so I have to tab my way all the way around again. 6'8" inches. Inches is shift and the close parentheses, right? Because I've had people that just tap the parentheses twice and it does not like that. Now I have this door. I click to create it. And then I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut to pick up the move tool, which allows me to position things, again, using my XY coordinates in a very specific way. So if I hit Command M on my keyboard, it brings up the move selection tool. So anything that's selected will now move by a specific distance. I'm going to have it offset by 2 feet, and that will move it just 2 feet in from the edge of the wall. Okay, that now is a door, right? I could export this and cut it out on the laser cutter. I can also have it actually cut the door out of this shape because this is a vector drawing software. So I can select both things. Modify are tools that change things that are 2-dimensional. Model are tools that change things that are 3-dimensional. So I'll go to Modify, Clip Surface, and now it will chop that door out and I will have just the shape of what is remaining of the wall, okay? That's the very most basic thing that I might use this for, okay? And this is the tool set you'll use to create those exports for like a laser cutter or to print out and work from. I'm gonna next show you how to print this because right now, while you could just print it and your layer, if you right click on it and hit edit, your layer is actually in 1/4 inch scale, so it should print basically correctly. I'm going to show you how to create what's called a viewport, which allows you to take all of the things in your drawing and lay them out to be printed on sheets of paper. So to create a viewport, I need to go to the View menu and select Create Viewport. When you do this, if you have something selected, like if this were selected and I went and created the viewport, it would try to use this object as a crop, right? Sometimes if there's a bunch of stuff in my viewport, in like my field, in my file, right now this only has this one wall, but if I had a bunch of things, I'm actually going to select what part of the image I want to have appear in the viewport anyway. Viewport's like a snapshot of a set of layers and classes. So I might draw a rectangle around the thing I want first, like I just have. Yes, it has disappeared now underneath my cute new rectangle. That's okay, because when I go to view and I create the viewport, you should get a pop-up that's like, hey, do you want to use this as the viewport's crop? And you can say yes to that. I probably said yes all the time in some previous timeline in this particular software. So then once I do that, I get all of this information about this viewport that I'm creating. I'm going to place it on a piece of paper that I can print out on a regular printer, which is going to be this 8.5 by 11 sheet. So I'm going to go there in terms of where I'm putting it, and it will have a drawing label that comes with it. I'm going to show you how to delete that later. So we're going to leave everything else the same. You'll notice right here is the scale. 1/4 inch scale is correct because we're building our models in 1/4 inch scale. So that is what you want. We click OK. Ta-da, there it is, right? 1/4 inch scale, nice little wall sitting on a piece of paper. If I want to just print this on the printer, bingo, done, go for it, right? If I want to use this as an export file for the laser cutter, I need to delete all the extra lines, right? If you remember when we pulled things into the laser cutter, they already had weird extra lines that you couldn't even see, and it took some time to prep it and make it right. So what I would do is start by deleting this title block. You need it for any time you're printing things to identify yourself. You don't need it in this case because we're just using it in the laser cutter. And then I want to get rid of my drawing name, my drawing title, right? And in order to do that, I actually need to edit one of the spaces within the viewport. If I double click on this, and you have to be double clicking on a line, if you double click in the space that is orange, it will not let you do it. If you double click on like a line of the text, it opens this pop-up which says Edit Viewport. inside this pop-up, you can change things like the crop, right? And it'll take you into a version of the viewport that lets you change the crop. You can zoom your way back to wherever you drew it, right, on the scenery design layer. Or you can go into what is called the annotations. Annotations is where we put things like dimensions, right? It's where we put stuff like the various notes that we would add as a designer. So I'm going to go into annotations because the other thing that lives in there is the drawing label, and then I'm going to delete it and exit the viewport annotations. So now all that's left on this page is this wall with a door in it. If I'm going to laser cut it, I'm going to put it someplace less chewing up all of this extra sheet paper, right? I'm going to put it kind of closer to the corner. I'm going to more tightly pack whatever things I might also be cutting out in order to be most efficient with the use of the tool. And then I can export it, which would be File, Export. There are 10,000 options. I will just export as a PDF. So I'll export it as a PDF. I say export, and it, manages its life, and it's going to put it someplace, and you should name it. Put it on your desktop, whatever. Hit save. It'll export. You'll get a PDF. Okay. The goal for you as this basic tools assignment, right, is to draw something that you might use for your project potentially, and pull it through the steps to get that PDF export in scale. Okay. And that's what you will submit to this activity. If you don't have anything you can think of that you want to use it, that you want to cut out with it, totally chill. You can just do like this wall with the door, or you can do a shape that you want to try, or whatever. You can play with some of the other tools. There are a lot of other tools. They are much more detailed in the explanations in the videos that I will link below. All right, thanks friends, and let me know as you have questions. Cool. Bye.